Very good morning. Myself, Dr. Ruchi Gupta. Today I will discuss a topic, Ajax. So, what is the full form of Ajax? First of all, we have to discuss about what is Ajax. Then, what is the purpose of using this Ajax? So, Ajax it stands for asynchronous JavaScript and XML. So, as we already seen that JavaScript is one of the scripting language that is used for the front end, and XML is an extensible markup language that is also used for client applications. So basically we have to use this Ajax. Already we are using some other scripting languages or other Java programming. So the purpose of this Ajax is to we are using this Ajax technology. That is, the purpose of this technology is to, when we want to communicate with the server, if client want to communicate with the server, so there is a problem that if we have to just click on the button from the client side, then it will refresh the whole page. So instead of refreshing the whole page, we just want to refresh that content which you want to receive from the server. So with the help of this Ajax, this is the technology through which we can refreshing the web page, and thus web page only we have just refreshing that content only which you want to see. So it is used to communicate with the server without refreshing the web page, and thus it is increasing the user experience and better performance. Because if you want to access some data from the server, so there is no need to refresh the whole page again and again, because it is a very time consuming process. So without refreshing the whole page, we have just refreshed that particular content part which you want to receive from the server. So it will increase the user experience, and it will increase the performance of the client server environment. So another one, it is a new technique that is faster. It is more better as compared to the previous technologies, and it is interactive with the web applications, because it is using the various technologies like XML, HTML, CSS and JavaScript. So in Ajax we will use HTML, CSS and JavaScript, XML from the front end side. So we can easily interact. It is very, so we can dynamically create the web pages, and we can easily interact with the server. So it uses, Ajax use some HTML content, CSS for the presentation, and along with the document, data object model, and JavaScript for the dynamic content display. So because it uses a different technologies, like it is using HTML, CSS, JavaScripting and XML. So the purpose of all these things are different. So first of all, if it is, it uses the XHTML. So XHTML, that is a extensible hypertext markup language. It is used for the content. And CSS, it is used the CSS for the presentation, look for the for that web page, and it use the, along with this document object model, and JavaScript for the dynamic content display. So it uses all these technologies. So conventional, if we have to compare it with the conventional web applications, so we have seen that in the conventional web application, when we have just give the request from the server, so from the server side, the whole web page is refreshed. So in this, with the help of this Ajax technology, we have to just remove this problem. So conventional web application, it translates the information to and from the server using a asynchronous request, because this conventional method using that asynchronous request method, it means that if you have to just fill out a form, hit a submit button and go directed to the new page when a new information from the server. So we have just click on the submit button and we have just go to the next page. It will refresh the whole page. So the next, if we are using the Ajax technology, so when you have to just submit this hit this submit button, so it will make a request to the server. The request will go on to the server, and the resultant it update the current screen only. Means, as we have already told you that if we have to compare it with the conventional web application method. So in the conventional web application method, when we have just, for example, this is your client side and this one is your server side. So if we have to just put any information and click on the submit button, the request will go on to the server. When responses come back from the server to the client, then it will refresh the whole page. As we have seen any website like Gmail and Facebook and Twitter and other websites. So when we have just put the submit button, so if we are using that conventional method, so your whole page will be refreshing. So it just like it will refresh that whole page, and then information is received. When information is received from the server, so it will refresh the whole page. But with this Ajax technology, add that part which we want to access from the server, that particular part will be refreshed with the Ajax technology if you are using Ajax in the web application. So with Ajax, when you hit this submit button, so JavaScript will make a request to the server. It interpret the results and update the current screen only. So in pursuit sense, that user would never know that anything was even transmitted to the server. So even we cannot see that how the page is to be refreshed. So XML, it is commonly used as a format for receiving the data from the server. So although it use some format. And Ajax, it is a web browser technology that is independent from the server software. So it means we can say that at the browser side, we are using the Ajax technology. So a user can continue to use these applications while the client program requests to the server from the server, and in the background, it will work out. So it basically we can say that Ajax technology, it is used for the interaction from the server, and it will use for display the content to the user. So clicking is not required, only the mouse movement is sufficient, even trigger is sufficient. So if we are talking about the features, that what are the various features or characteristics of this Ajax method technology. So first of all, we know that Ajax, it is a combination of all these things. Ajax is a combination of HTML, XHTML, XML, JavaScript, etc. So it is we can say that it is a asynchronous JavaScript and XML. It is not any programming language like another, we are using another languages, scripting languages like HTML, CSS, JavaScript. It is not any programming language. It's just a combination of these request and response. So just browser will send an XML HTTP request object to the server, and JavaScript and HTML DOM to it is used to display the information on the browser side. So basically we can say that Ajax, it is a interface through which we can display the information on the browser, and it is used to refresh the content dynamically. So Ajax applications might use XML to transit the data, but it is equally common to transform the data as a plain text to the JSON text. So when we have to use this Ajax method, so your plain text is to be transmitted into the JSON text. So this is the whole architecture of this Ajax technology, that how we can communicate with the server through this Ajax technology. And we can say that how your Ajaxes work over the network. So Ajax, it is communicate with the server using this XML HTTP request object. So these are some steps that how this technology work. So first of all, this is your browser side, this is your client side, this is your server side. So in the first step, if we have seen that we are working on this presentation. So client is reside. So the client is reside on this presentation layer. So when the client will put any request on this browser, we can take any browser like Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, anything. So when we have just put any request on this browser, so the JavaScript call will go onto the through this web browser. It will convert it into the XML HTTP request, because we have to know that when client want to communicate with the server, then HTTP request is going to the server, and then server will receive that HTTP request and it will send it to the servlet. That is further part of this web technology. So that is come under the advanced topic of this web technology part. So number one, a JavaScript call. So it is XML HTTP request. It is converted into the XML HTTP request. Then XML HTTP request will go onto the server. So it is a business logic. As we know that there are three in this architecture, there are three layers. One is a presentation layer that is onto the client side. One is the business layer that is onto the server side, and third layer is a data layer that is onto the database side. So basically server is used to create the business logics. So your HTTP request is going onto the server, web server. We can take any web server, like we can take Tomcat, Apache Tomcat server. So once your request is coming on this web server, so as I've already told you that on the server side we are using some server side technology like servlet, PHP, JSP, etc. So your request is going on to the server. Server will send that request to the servlet. Servlet is a program that is executed on the server side. So your request is come onto this server. Server will send this to the servlet. Servlet will execute that request to the onto the server side. Then your request, if your data is coming from the database, so the request will go onto the data store. It will receive that, it will fetch the data from the database, and it will work on that data set. It will execute your request which is coming from the client, and then the data is sent to the client, and that data is in XML format. But we know that client is only understand this HTML request or response. So in the next step, your XML information is to be converted into this HTML and CSS data, and it will display by the client browser. So these are the 6-step process through which we have to communicate. We have to just display the information on the client side. So this is the whole working of this Ajax, that how Ajax work. These are the various steps that as we have already discussed in this diagram. So first of all, as you can see in the above example, so first of all, your XML HTTP request object play an important role, because we have seen here once we have to just put the request on the client. So XML HTTP request is going to the server. So it will create one object. So user send the request from the UI, and JavaScript call goes to the XML HTTP request object. And in the second step, your HTTP request is sent to the server by XML HTTP request object. So as we have seen here, that in the next step 2, your XML HTTP request, one object is to be created of that request, XML HTTP request, and it will go on to the server. Now in the third step, server interact with the database. If any data is want to fetch through the database, then first server will interact with the database using JSP, PHP, Servlet, ASP.NET, etc. Because all these are technologies are the server side technologies. They all are executed on the server side only. And here we have to use this Apache Tomcat server. Now, once the data is to be fetched through the database, this is your data store or database. So, data is retrieved. In the next step, data is retrieved from the database. Now, once the server will receive the data from the database, then it will send the XML data to XML HTTP request callback function. Because once your request is executed on the server, then the response will get back to the, it will get back to the client. So, server send the XML data to the XML HTTP request callback function. And then in the next step, that is your sixth step, because we have to know that HTML or client or browser only display the information which is coming from the, which is it only support the HTML format. So, in the next step, HTML and CSS data is displayed on the browser. So, this is the whole process of Ajax technology, that how it is works. So, in this whole process, one object of this XML HTTP request is created. So, an object of this XML HTTP is used for asynchronous communication over the client and server. So, once we have to create this object of this XML HTTP request, so it will perform the following operations. Number one, it is used to send the data from the client in the background. Next, it will receive the data from the server. And third, it will update the page without reloading the whole page. Means if, for example, if this is your web page, and for example, it will, if it is divided into the 4 containers. So, if I want to just access the information of that part only, so it will load that content only without refreshing the whole page. So, we have just see the content which is coming from the server, and it will update the page without reloading the whole page. So, this is one of the major advantage of using this Ajax technology. So, this is the process that how we can interact with the client and server through this Ajax technology. So, we are residing on this browser side. So, we have just sent the request. So, an event occur, and the client will create an XML HTTP request, and this will send this HTTP request through the internet to the server. Then server will process on this HTTP request which is coming from the client. It create a response and send the data back to the browser through this internet only. Now, once it will receive the response, once the client will, browser will receive that response, so it will process the return data using this Java script, and it will update the page content without reloading the whole page. This is the major purpose of using this Ajax technology. So, if we have to just compare this Ajax conventional model to the Ajax model, so what is the difference? As we have already used this conventional model. Already we are using this conventional model, but why there is a need of using this Ajax model because there are certain benefits of using this Ajax model over the conventional model. So number one, if we are using this conventional model, then browser send the HTTP request to the server only HTTP request, not XML or HTTP request over the server. So if we are using this Ajax model, so the browser create a JavaScript call which can create a new XML HTTP request object. This is the major difference between Ajax model and the conventional model. In this, the server will create this HTTP request and it will send to the server. But in the case of this Ajax model, the browser will create this JavaScript call and with the new XML HTTP request object, and this XML HTTP request object will go to the server. Now the second is the web server receives and processes the request with the help of this HTTP protocol. In this method, in the Ajax technology, the new XML request object transfer the data between the browser and web server in an XML format only. So it use request and response process. It works the request and response process through XML only. And if we are using this conventional model, it use HTTP request only. Now the third difference is web servers send the requested data to browser. Now if we are using this Ajax method, so XML HTTP request, it send request for the updated page data to the server, and the later process request send it back to the browser. Means in this Ajax model, your data request and response both will go through the XML HTTP request or response. Now the next difference is browser receives the data from the server and reload it as a HTML page. Means once the browser will receive the data from the server, so it will reload the whole HTML page. But in case of this Ajax model, the browser uses JavaScript process to respond and display only the updated content directly on the HTML page without reloading the whole page. So these are the basic difference. That's why we are using in nowadays, most of the websites or web pages are to be designed through this Ajax technology only. Now, if we have to compare this, if we have to see that how we can send the request, how your XML HTTP request object is created, and we have just sent this XML HTTP request to the server. So this is the process. This is the process of sending a request to the server. So as I have already told you that once we have to use this Ajax technology, then we have to keep in mind that you will send this XML HTTP request object, not HTTP request, to the server. So instead of using this HTTP request, we are just create this XML HTTP request object, and that is used to exchange the data with the server. Means we are using this XML HTTP request or response to share the data from the server. Now, if we have to send the request to the server, so we will use another method. One is open and send method along with this XML HTTP request object. So this is the syntax. First of all, we have to just open the connection. X HTTP dot open. We are using here get method, and this is your Ajax info.txt file is there, and we will put it true. Then we will use X HTTP dot send. Okay, so we have used two main method here, open and send. So these are the methods which are used for creating the connection or sending the request to the server: open, send, and send string. Similarly, we are using two method here, get and post request method. If we are using this simple get method, then we have to just take this sequence get demo is true. If we are using this post method, then we have to put here post method. In post method, we have just sent the additional content along with the request. So these are some syntax of using this XML HTTP request or response. This is the ready exchange method. Syntax of this method that it is defined to on ready property of this HTTP response object. So this is all about that, how we can reload the, how we can display the information without reloading the whole page through this Ajax technology. So thank you very much.